Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's time for the latest episode of the Mulliner and Musgrove Show with me, Andrew Musgrove, and him, Sam Mulliner. And if only you could see me dancing in the green room to our theme tune, because that is probably as good as the show is going to get. Not in terms of the content or the lovely voices you're about to hear, but just in terms of a bit of positivity when it comes to Newcastle United's transfer window. As I said yesterday, I'm not wanting to sit here and lie and tell you it's going to be a wonderfully optimistic episode with lots of signings to come, although we can live in hope. Me and Sam have got our list of players and targets, and the topic is how Newcastle United salvage their summer after what has been a disappointing transfer window so far. But before we get on to that, big thanks to Saily, which is the eSIM provider from the creators of NordVPN, and a big thanks to Nord themselves as well, because they are back on board sponsoring the podcast for the next couple of months at the very least. And you can get yourselves a fantastic bargain by signing up to NordVPN. We've got a discounted offer if you click the link in your podcast description box. The basic plan, ladies and gents, starts at just £2.69 a month. The ultimate plan goes up to £5.39 per month, which is an absolute bargain. I've got it on here. Leaves me feeling safe and secure, especially when you go on holiday and you know that actually you can browse public Wi-Fi, whether you're on a tram, a train, or in the hotel, and you're nice and safe with your VPN working wonders in the background. And also, if you do go away, it means you can keep up to date with all your latest streaming services in the UK, even though you are abroad, so you'll never miss a televised Newcastle United match if you've got your relevant subscriptions and all that. So do sign up to both Saily and NordVPN. Sam, you well? You good? How are we keeping?
Yeah, I mean the VPN market is flying at the moment, isn't it? Don't know why, but yeah, that's the only positive. You've done well if you got shares in Nord. But yeah, well done. Yeah, I'm just so angry, frustrated, depressed in general about how this summer has panned out. It was meant to be the summer where we could really get some quality in and finally spend again to push on to that next level, but it's just turned into an absolute nightmare. I've got so many questions. I've got so many pent up anger and rage. Yeah, it's going to be. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of frustration vented in the comment section as well. But don't take it out on me and Andrew. Just take it out on the relevant parties. Just not me or Andrew.
Yeah, we're just trying to bring you the very best Newcastle United content around and
Well,
clean
I'm
out
a
any
confidence
positivity.
player.
Yeah.
I need the arm around the shoulder.
As we've just hit record, Aston Villa have confirmed the signing of Ivory Coast striker Ivan Gesand from Nice in a deal worth up to potentially £30 million. And I think that's dropped in exactly the right time because it kind of links into part of the episode, really. And I was going to ask you this later on in the show, but I'll ask you it now, given that news, Sam. £30 million potentially. So obviously that means with add-ons, so it'll more than likely be £25 million up front, whatever. What we've seen in recent weeks and all this window is Newcastle United really go for players who have either got a big reputation or courted by teams who are in a better position to offer bigger wages, or players who've got a huge reputation based on their potential, like Benjamin Sesko. I just want to ask you whether you think it's all right going for those two kind of markets to begin with, but after rejection 3 or 4, when you realize just how tough the competition is it time, and we're a little late in the day to maybe be pleading with Newcastle to do this, but is it time to move to a market like Villa have done, where you've got a striker who scored 17 goals last season? Okay, that was kind of his first prolific campaign, but obviously they've scouted him, they've looked at him, he looks good, he's the right age, and also he comes under the budget and price tag of some of the players Newcastle have been chasing, and some of the strikers Villa have been linked to as well.
Andrew, I've been telling you this for the past 3-4 years to look at these markets. What was I doing 12 months ago? Banging the drum about signing Guehi. He was available for £15 million. He had a release clause from Stuttgart for 15 million. That's half the price of what Villa has just signed the chap from Nice for, which is a shrewd move, by the way. He's not a world beater, but he's a very good player. Should dovetail with Watkins if he stays very, very well. Yeah, and now Guehi is worth what, quadruple that, top scorer in the Champions League. I don't know. I scratch my head. I don't know. This is the thing with this is one of my very many questions. Like, what our recruitment for what has been so spot on since the takeover. Like, what are we playing at this summer? Some of the players we've been linked to are so underwhelming. It's clear Andy Howe's having a big influence as well because he favours the domestic player instead of the Steve Nixon. I mean, thank God for Steve Nixon. My word. Um, the gems he finds across Europe because they are out there and they are out there still, by the way. Yes, the talent pool is thinning because we've dawdled, we've dallied, we didn't go in hard for Jonathan David when he was available for free. For free.
Yeah,
We
but I
we
would just
yeah, but we've dilly dallied, and just sorry to cut you off, but the timing. I mean, the timing of Alex Isak as well, kicking up a fuss as well, makes no sense whatsoever. Why didn't he do it at the start of the summer?
well, that is the key question for his representatives. But I would argue Jonathan David does fall into the bracket. You know, there were some big clubs after him, and I would also argue that Guehi, despite the £15 million release clause, also kind of falls into that market where you're going to be competing against teams who can offer, more money and have got a bit more
Dortmund
prestige.
had a free run at him.
Yeah, no, but I'm just putting the point across to my original question, and now I just want to pick you up there on something you said. Underwhelming, some of the names. Do you want to hit me with some of these names that have been underwhelming in your opinion?
I mean, the strikers we're linked to at the moment that are all domestic based. Your man, Strand Larsen, Moon is from Fulham, Nicholas Jackson, who's a total liability. He wouldn't even be able to play for us in the first game of the season because he's suspended for the red card he got against us, which was a stupid red card. Absolute liability. There's no, I mean, like Chelsea replaced him with the guy from Brighton, João Pedro, who we wanted, who's got tremendous ability and potential. But let's not forget he was being kept out the Brighton side by Danny frickin' Welbeck. So let's not get too carried away. I just the Malik Thiaw, the centre half from Milan, does nothing for me. He wouldn't even be in my top 10 of centre back targets. His transfer to Como fell through, and now all of a sudden Milan want to keep him. The Tomori links are rearing their ugly head again. He's been out of the Milan side for a while now. I don't know why people want him. I'd argue Alanga was underwhelming as well, but we all know my feelings. But Alanga, he has my full support now, and he looked all right in pre-season for the game against Arsenal at least. But yeah, the striker market in particular, because that's where this transfer window now will be won and lost. So how we can replace Wilson and Isak with what? I mean, Wolves won't sell Strand Larsen. He's just signed for them this summer. Last season was a loan. It has just been made permanent last month. You're dreaming. Like, how does that even happen? You're going to pay an exorbitant fee. Wissa, very good player, doesn't fit our mould. I don't understand why we're sticking with domestic players other than Ekatike and Sesko, who obviously Ekatike we've been in for before, and Sesko was the kind of logical replacement. But as I said for Mbermo, I don't want anyone in Newcastle anyway that chooses Man United over us at the moment.
A few points to come back on. First off, I just still can't get past your viewpoint on Anthony Alanga. This man has
Well,
got
no.
level
I just
to.
dangled that out there to wind you up. Alanga is a Newcastle player. He has my full support.
No,
But I'm
but
just
there,
going
but
back when I
Sam,
said there are better options out there
there is
abroad.
there is. You mentioned that man's name from the Liga, and we're going to have an argument here.
No, I'm not, because it's done.
But clearly you still feel there are better options out there. I mean, I'm guessing if you could go back and turn the clock back, if someone offered you Kubu or Alanga, you'd go for your man. And I have to be honest, I think that there is a big difference from you saying you support Anthony Alanga because he's in black and white. That's one thing, but clearly there's still that undercurrent of, it should have been someone else on the right
No.
wing.
I hope he absolutely smashes it.
No,
Genuinely.
but there's a difference. That's the difference I'm talking about. You can
Yeah,
say
but
that.
that's irrelevant. That's just a fan's perspective. I didn't really want Harvey Barnes when he signed, but blooming well love him to bits, Harvey Barnes. It's fantastic. He's like had some unbelievable moments for Newcastle. And he was in the starting 11 for the cup final. So, they're all legends. But it's don't get bogged down in that. But there are opportunities being missed. Opportunity after opportunity is being missed because we dawdle in the market. Howe himself wanted the business done early, but yet here we are. Cellar Cups this weekend. We've not won a game in pre-season, other than the behind closed door one against Carlisle. Get in there. It's not looking good.
It's not. We'll get onto that in a moment. Anthony Elanga will prove to be worth every single penny, by the way.
Good.
He's a fantastic signing. Just on Strand Larsen, I agree. The chances of Wolves selling him are next to zero, but reports suggest that it's not a fully closed door. They could double the money potentially, which I think would be a little bit steep, but I think he's absolutely fantastic.
How much did they sign him for? He's your man. You should know this.
23, 24 million. So the reports are 50, 60 million might be enough to get it done, which I agree is a massive, massive asking price for a man who's just had one season in the Premier League, but did score 14 and 35. But I'm a big fan of him. I've been shouting about him for a long time. I just think he's just fantastic in kind of every element of the game. Obviously, Wissa now looks like that one is going to get done, but he comes in to replace Callum Wilson. He is going to move from Brentford, we think, in the next kind of week. Hopefully, that saga finally ends. Yeah, well, they're going to go after the Bournemouth guy.
But weren't Al Nasser in for Wissa now?
Well, reportedly, but as we
and
don't
forget as well, it's AFCON year.
Yeah, well, that is the other issue. So whoever replaces, I mean, look, the whole point about the striker situation, again, there's two ways to look at it. It's you get a striker in, and you keep Isak, and you get his head refocused, and that's what you go into this new season with. Or you get two strikers in. It would have to be one who plays in AFCON, which would be Wissa, which then I think you have to rule out anyone like Nicholas Jackson or
Nicholas
anyone
Jackson
else.
should never have even been in the conversation.
Granted, but you would rule him out, and then you would have to get someone who obviously is going to be playing throughout December and January. So maybe someone like Strand Larsen potentially, and then you sell Alexander Isak. I mean, this is how Newcastle salvage the summer. And in my viewpoint, I have to be honest with people. I don't want to use the word perfect because it's not perfect, but the way I would want this summer to now end is Newcastle United go out and get two quality strikers in, and they sell Alexander Isak to Liverpool. Now I can see your face, and I can hear already the angry keyboard being hit because I've just said that. But I don't think there's a way back for Alexander Isak. I don't see how Eddie Howe, as good as a man manager that he is, can persuade him that this is the place to be for the next year. I think even if Alexander signs up to that, I think after 2 or 3 months, he'll become absent, and I don't think it's going to work. So if Newcastle can go out and find two quality strikers, which I admit is unlikely given how the summer's gone so far, then I would like to see the summer end by cashing on Alexander Isak, because then you bank that money when he's at his most valuable, and you get rid of a player who clearly does not want to be here. And I know people say Steven Gerrard handed a transfer request at Liverpool, and Kabay did it in Newcastle, and it worked out all right. But for me, I just think the bridges have been burnt. Obviously, we will support him in black and white, but I think the summer ends ideally, for want of a better phrase, with Newcastle getting in two quality strikers and getting the money for Isak. The final point on that before I let you come back in, Sam, is a lot of people are saying XYZ, replacing Isak with XYZ. How can you do that? It's ridiculous. They're not good enough. I'd say no one is good enough to replace Alexander Isak. That's just not going to happen because he's that good. He's the best in the Premier League. He's one of the best in Europe. You're not going to replace him. But what you do is you go out and you get two strikers who can score your goals. And I think if you can get two quality strikers who can guarantee you as best you can 15, 20 goals a season, then that is enough to replace Alexander Isak as the individual, and plus you get £150 million for him. That's my viewpoint on it. It's not ideal in any stretch of the imagination, but that's how I would like to see the summer end, given everything on the table.
Yeah, one of the best strikers around, yet not nominated for the Ballon d'Or. because he plays for Newcastle, probably. Yeah, I just find the timing of it so bizarre. That's what I can't get my head around. Why not do this at the start of the summer? Um, I mean, if Liverpool hadn't have signed Ekitike, then they probably would have got Isak by now. But you know, the underdog story of Liverpool FC just keeps on giving. Oh, how do they do it with no money? Oh my word. Yeah, I just hate the whole situation. Liverpool have got previous because they did it with Van Dijk. If Isak stays, then he'll play rubbish for till January, and then we'd be forced to sell him in January as well, because that's what happened with Van Dijk. He was awful for Southampton after they kept him. But yeah, it's quite clear Liverpool have unsettled him, and his agent wanted to get on that train, and it's a lot of this behaviour is agent driven. I just don't get the timing of it. I think Eddie Howe's spot on for doing what he's done, and I commend Eddie Howe for that. You do have to earn the right to get back in the squad after the tricks he's pulled. I find it utterly bizarre because he's never come across as a bit of a D head, which Nicholas Jackson very much always has. But yeah, it's football, isn't it? This is what happens. Has anyone gone on strike and made us and you know got their move and made a success of themselves? I can't really reel off a list of names that has happened to. And of course, Liverpool don't want to pay what we ask, so which is offensive to some media outlets. We all know the ones. You know, it's fine for Crystal Palace to hold firm on Guehi. You know, it's fine for other clubs to hold valuations of what their players, but heaven forbid Newcastle do the same for a striker that, like you say, is one of the best in world football. Everyone would probably have him in a world 11 right now, or in that conversation rather. But you know, 150 million is obscene. Well, it's not. It's the market. It's what he's worth, I'm afraid. So I can't see Liverpool. This is all being done by his agent and by Liverpool to put pressure on Newcastle to drop their valuation, which in no way they should do. Time is on Newcastle's side. If he wants to sit and rot in the reserves and train on his own for the next year, 2 years, whatever, then that's your prerogative. But you know, Newcastle as it stands are still under no pressure to sell. I can see a way back for him, given all that. But you know, it takes a lot of hard work and a bit of commitment shown on his part. Whether there's a new contract similar to what Cunha signed at Wolves, where there's a release clause put in for the next summer, but again, that release clause would be what 150 million. So I don't know. It makes no sense. I can't stand Liverpool Football Club. They've always been my least favourite team. So I love the city of Liverpool, by the way. It's tremendous. But yeah, I don't understand the timing of it, especially when there was so many teams after a top quality striker. Why wait until after all that's gone? Arsenal getting Gyökeres, who I think will flop. You know, the Sesko's on his way to Man United now, of course, and yeah, I don't understand the timing of it. I think it's utterly bizarre. You could read into a lot of things and say, well, maybe this was on Isak's mind before the end of the season. He didn't really look the same player towards the back end of the season, but we kind of assumed that was maybe he was carrying a bit of a minor knock, which seems to be the go-to excuse for him because he misses a lot of games through injury. Look, it pains me. I love him to bits, as you well know. He's a player I've watched for years, and I dreamt of him playing for us. You know, we've won the trophy. I'm sick of the media bias against Newcastle and these rejected 11 horse crap, because half the players on that rejected list are players that Newcastle walked away from, not the other way around. Your Burmos and Cunha's. I don't even think we were ever in for Cunha, were we? But yeah, but as well, Newcastle have to reflect inward as well, because it's been an absolute S show from start to finish this summer, and the gap between Eddie Howe and Yasser Al Rumayyan has been nothing short of a disgrace. At such a crucial time as well, such a crucial time. This would have been our chance to really kick on. But I mean, are we even in a position now where we challenge for top four? I'm not so sure.
No, I don't think the squad is in that position. I think they need to finish the window with at least getting one striker in and a
Because
centre
otherwise,
back.
next summer it'll be Tonali, it'll be
Yeah.
Livramento.
Well, there's a long-term impact, most certainly, but I just think with Isak, you're totally correct in what you say. I had a conversation with a Liverpool fan yesterday who took offence at me calling Liverpool's opening bid insulting and suggesting that they
It
weren't
is.
serious for Isak. And in my opinion, it was insulting because Newcastle United on one hand said he's not for sale, but also it was known that actually if you wanted to have a serious conversation about buying Isak, it's 150 million pounds, and to come in for 100 with 110, which is less than what was on the table for Vert, and you were asking me who's a better player. It's no debate whatsoever. The price tag is 150 million pounds. That is what is out there. That is what Newcastle United are saying. If you want to have a conversation, and Liverpool knew that and came in with what I think was an insulting bid. If they want to come back, you have to get up to 150 million, whether it be add-ons. But that's where the starting point is, and I think it's now time for Newcastle to show they're good sellers. I mean, getting rid of Martin Dubravka and Black Demos is a good start. But if they're going to sell Isak, they have to remain strong and hold out for his true worth. Going back to my original point, Sam. I mean, if Newcastle somehow ended up with, let's say, for example, Strand Larsen and Johan Wissa in black and white, would you then accept Isak leaving?
No.
No. So let's say, I assume you agree with me, it has to be two strikers in before they even dream of letting Isak go.
Oh yeah.
Who are the two that come in for you then to say, yep, okay, Liverpool, put the money on the table and we'll have a chat?
Obviously, throughout the summer, we've done my kind of three players on each position. When we did the striker one, that of course was very much for replacing Callum Wilson. So the likes of Callum Wendo from Rennes still holds water for one. I did one of the producers I work with at Coral TV. He's a huge Brentford fan, and we were chatting the other day, and it turns out that Brentford have been strongly linked to Callum Wendo, ironically to replace Johan Wissa, but that was before. The bid last night or today for the guy from Bournemouth, but it amused me nevertheless. The striker pool is thin, but you are right in saying no one really can replace Alexander Isak. There are unrealistic options out there, of course. The only one that hasn't really been mentioned is Lautaro Martinez. But again, out of all the unrealistic options, Marcus Thuram as well from Inter, they've got two good strikers there. Thuram we were linked with back in the day, I seem to recall.
Come on, Sam. We said prior, this has got to be
I was getting to
realistic.
that. I'm saying the unrealistic ones first to get them out of the way. So don't point at me in your once again, it's the height of summer and you're wearing a jumper.
It's very thin. It's very
I,
thin. Anyway, come on then. Hit me with
so is
the.
the striker pool.
Well,
So I mean, Gonzalo Ramos is a name I've seen, but any of the ones from the Premier League, I just have no interest in whatsoever. Oh my word, Voltmada, we just saw him this summer. Smash up the under-21s, such as Gordon did the tournament prior. Um, I think you could turn him into a bit of a Sesko in that kind of ilk because he's 6'6", big strapping lad, 23 years of age, but he kind of plays in the 10 as well, which ever since I first saw him kind of baffles me somewhat. I'd be sticking him up top. He's great in the air, great feet. He's the same kind of mould as Sesko, really. So there was rumours of him going to Bayern Munich, which have seemed to have fallen flat. So if there's a deal there to be done, I'd be looking at him. Gonzalo Ramos, don't mind it. Don't mind it, but it again, it'd be a gamble. I think Sesko is a gamble, was a gamble as well, by the way. I don't think he's the finished article, as Man United may well find out. But that's Man United for you. There are a few that are gambles. I still like Kareem Konate from Salzburg, but again, he's injured. Endrick, who we've mentioned before, has had a setback with his injury, which is disappointing because I think he would have been available at the very least on loan. Yeah, it is running thin. I've seen a lot of talk on Twitter this week about Agahara from Porto. That's a big fat no from me. I think he needs time to develop, and he will. He's by no means there yet. Similar to Asula, just nowhere near ready. Yeah, it's getting thin, real thin for strikers. Obviously, because you can't replace Isak, you need two strikers that are better than Callum Wilson at Wilson's peak, but obviously aren't going to be at the level of Isak, so they can kind of dovetail somewhat. I don't. But again, still trying to get value and fit into our transfer ethos. So
I think you can. I think, to be totally honest, they want Wissa. They want Wissa, and I think you can tear up the ethos that has gone previously. Whether you think that's right or wrong,
well, it is
right
wrong, but
now,
that's where we're at.
that's the point. So I think I say no to this player because it doesn't fit the ethos of what went prior. At this stage, doesn't really matter. Ollie Watkins does not fit the mold. But I tell
No.
you what, if Ollie Watkins rocked up alongside Johan Wissa, then that would be enough for me to sell Alexander Isak, because I think short term they fire you, they leave you with a very good chance of still getting into the top 6, and then you have that 150 million sitting there, and then you go out and get that next level by the time they are running to the end of their careers. So I get what you're
Watkins is a
saying.
bit more of a fox in the box, though, isn't he? He doesn't have that all-round game. But he'd certainly. Well, you'd like to think he'd get the service.
You keep mentioning this, and it's not just on this episode, but you say, domestic targets don't do it for me. I mean, what
Some
don't
do.
you like? Is it the price tag? Is it you genuinely don't think Strand Larsen is very good, or you're not impressed with Wissa? What?
Like I've said, I've never criticised any of the players on their ability, because they're good players. They're fine. They're good. Obviously, they're Premier League players. They're good players, but there is better value to be had elsewhere. And in a world where in PSR, as things stand, which is the chief reason for all of this, by the way, as we well know, we keep banging the drum, but we're not allowed to criticise the powers that be. But PSR is the whole reason why we're in this conversation, while we're feeling this anger and pent up frustration, whilst we're talking about selling our best player and one of the world's finest strikers, is because it's not a level playing field. If it was, we'd be talking about Aston Villa and Newcastle United challenging for the title alongside City and the underdogs Liverpool, with 115 million pound signings. But that's the reality of it. We're not allowed to compete. That's the be all and end all. It's not the same as when Chelsea had their revolution under Abramovich. It's nowhere near the same as when Manchester City had theirs. So it's not a level playing field. The whole thing stinks. The Premier League is just a depressing state of affairs at the top end. But Man United could finish 15th, make a whole host of transfer errors, spend hundreds of millions of pounds on total guff, and yet be billions in debt and still continue to spend hundreds of millions of pounds. Make it make sense.
No, I can't. And you are right. I think
Exactly.
it's an absolute
But yeah,
travesty.
the players like Strand Larsen, I think he's a good player. He's a good player. Do I want him to? But again, is he one that can maintain a charge to a domestic trophy and a top 4 challenge? I don't know. Is Wissa potentially? I'm not sure, but
Why also
either way, something's got to happen.
I just go back to the point that I've made quite regularly this summer. It's about the collective. That's what matters. When you've got a manager like Eddie Howe and you've got the core of Bruno and Tonali,
Yeah,
and it's about the collective. You add good players to what is already a good core,
Yeah.
then that elevates you to another level straight away. It doesn't always have to be, these 70, 80 million pound top class players, because to be
Couldn't
quite
agree
frank,
more.
we've learned this summer that's just not where Newcastle United are at. That's where we hopefully will see Newcastle at in 3 or 4 years' time. And maybe we were a little bit naive in thinking that the Champions League on offer this summer would be able to get us through the door with these players. And that's one for another episode. But it's about the collective. And for me, Wissa and Mbeumo work so well. So Alanga is kind of sort of in the same mold as Mbeumo in terms of the assists and the speed, and I think those two could work really well together. And then Strand Larsen, I think, is well, he's better in the air, I would argue, than Alexander Isak, and I think he's a good player. And as I've said to you, privately, because me and you have a bit of back and forth about Strand Larsen, he'll hit 15 plus goals this season. And if he is still at Wolves this season, he'll be the bigger club come the next year. I think those two players would keep Newcastle in and around where they are
So,
now, and plus you get £150 million for Alexander Isak.
so all joking aside, because I give you a bit of stick, even underhanded stick, I would prefer Strand Larsen to Muniz of Fulham, Nicholas Jackson of Chelsea. I'd probably prefer him to Watkins as well, to be honest. So yeah, I get it, but I don't see that as realistic because,
No, I
like I
agree.
say, he's just signed for Wolves. Yes, Wolves are in a bit of a sorry state of affairs, and they've lost. They continue to lose good players every summer. But I don't know. I'd find it surprising. But again, I don't bang the drum about 70, 80 million pound signings that often. If anything, I try and find the value, which is my whole point. So you go to Europe to find it, because you have to, because of PSR. Hence why I wanted Guehi at 15 million, and now he would be worth 60, 70 million at the age of 29.
Your gut instinct, just briefly, Isak remain at Newcastle after the window shuts?
What day do we play Liverpool? What date?
It is
It's been moved to the Monday night, hasn't it?
it is what would be the 20th, is it? Anyway, yeah. So the window's still open. Yeah, it'll
So
be
I
the
think Isak
14th.
goes 48 hours after that game.
Well, 25th, is it? The 25th, because 16th is the kickoff for the season, and 25th is the Monday after, which is a bank holiday as well.
Yeah, so I think Isak goes 48 hours after that game, and we muddle through with Gordon, Barnes, and Alanga up top. But
do you think that happens and Newcastle have got his replacement in, or do you think that happens regardless of the incomings?
no, I think we will get replacements in, but we will because I don't know. I just can't see a world where we don't buckle to the pressure and sell him for 130 or something like that,
I think
which is wrong.
Newcastle will stay strong. I think they'll get 150 million in one package or another. Let's look at other areas of the pitch then. Let's look at centre back now. I still think Marc Guéhi to Newcastle United is a strong possibility from what I'm hearing.
Until Liverpool come in.
Or Chelsea, given the injury to
Carwell.
That is a deal that's set to be made for whichever team wants to make it. Newcastle United just got to show the want and desire. So I would like to see that one happen. Theo, AC Milan, I know you're really underwhelmed by him. I mean, at this point, a centre back of decent quality will do me, to be quite honest. I mean, they need a centre back to come in. I love Nathan Collins, but that's unrealistic, I think, especially if Wissa leaves Brentford. I don't think you can see Brentford selling probably their next biggest name. But I love Nathan Collins. I think he's absolutely superb.
Is he world class?
But again, it goes back to the point. It's about the collective. Is he one of the best centre backs in the Premier League? I would argue he's within the top 10. That's my opinion. I would argue he's up there in that top 10 of centre backs in the Premier League for me. And it's about, again, how I say, adding to the squad and starting 11 rather than that person.
Yeah, but we've got Yeah, but no,
He's
because
better than
we're not after a
Fabian
squad
Schär.
player. We're after a starting centre back to be the long-term partner for Sven Botman. Let's not get sidetracked by
Right,
the
and
crap
so
that's happening with centre backs.
he's
Do you think
exactly that.
Nathan Collins would be the long-term option?
Yes,
Again, he's a good player. I'm not disputing that, but has he got potential to be a real top player? Probably not.
I totally disagree. 24 years of age, injury record is just, he doesn't have one because he's just super duper fit.
Always a
He's
bonus with Botman.
exactly great in the air, can play with the ball. He is a tremendous centre back, and he won't be at Brentford, I don't think, beyond this season coming. I think again, if he doesn't move to say Newcastle United, which he won't do, he'll be at Arsenal or probably at
You won't.
Chelsea. In Chelsea's look,
Yeah,
in
maybe, but
the
he won't be
season
at
after.
Arsenal.
I think he's
But
a
on the flip side, he could also end up at like an Everton, who I think are the dark horses this year. By the way, people have got them very short in the betting for relegation. I think they'll finish top half easy.
if Nathan Collins was named Nathan Colacinho, then you'd be all over it. And he
No, I
played
wouldn't.
for someone like Real
No, I
Sociedad.
wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. No. I don't just watch Real Sociedad. But yeah, no, I like Guehi. So, and I've liked Guehi for a long time. It'd be great if we could get him. It really would. But again, it could be another one where we are gazumped. I don't particularly like Thiago. I think there are still fundamental flaws in his game. Yes, there's time to change that because he's only 22, but there are errors strung within his defensive ability. Yeah, I would prefer Guehi, Diamande, Scalvini, which has gone a bit quiet. Which are the three we spoke about? Zabani as well, who looks like he's on the way to PSG. But I did hear rumblings that talks maybe stalled. But obviously he's going to cost a pretty penny. But yeah, those are the defenders I gave to you in a previous episode back in the summer. I haven't really changed my opinion on the centre back. It's Diamandi, Scalvini, and I'd be very happy with Guehi as well. Those would be the big three. Zabani as well, probably just a bit too expensive for what he's worth at the moment.
A lot of talk about Gay's price tag. Palace are staying strong. They won £50 million. For
How
me,
dare they?
as I've said in previous episodes, said earlier this week on an episode based just upon Gay, that I don't have any issue with that. I think you pay £50 million for Gay in 3 or 4 years' time, you'll forget how much he's costing because he will have earned that price back instantly. I think
One
within
of
a season.
England's starting centre halves, considering Man United, how much did they pay for Harry Maguire all them years ago? So yeah, I don't think £50 million is unreasonable. I'm sure Liverpool will try and come in because they are the plucky underdogs that they are, and should demand that Crystal Palace would be grateful to have their £35 million. But yeah, I'm very bitter on Liverpool, aren't I? My word. At least I can admit it. But yeah, I think Crystal Palace are fair enough. But again, if they sell Guehi and replace him with Diamande, that's fantastic business for them.
Well, reportedly, their main target now to replace Gay is Jan Bissek of Inter Milan, German international. They've had a bid already rejected for him. You come across him in your scouting expeditions?
Well, I've heard the name. I wouldn't say I'm not going to lie and say I know a lot about a player when I don't. I've heard the name. I've not really focused in on him. I mean, Inter Milan defence. You think of Bastoni, who I saw again linked with Chelsea last night after that news broke of Levi Colwill. So if they do go for Bastoni, who knows? We should have a clear run at Guehi unless Liverpool come in again.
Well, Bissek played 27 times last year for Inter Milan, so he's getting game time there. So that is another name that maybe Newcastle could turn to if Palace don't manage to get him. Scalvini's not going to happen. I mean, Newcastle were told early this summer, a little bit like Isak, he's not for sale, but if you want to see what you can do, then this is the price tag you have to offer to have these conversations. And
what was it?
Newcastle haven't got
40?
there. I think it was closer to 50, maybe 50 million euros. Than it
Okay.
was 40. that injury as well is
Yeah, that's
you know,
probably
that
on the. Yeah, that's
confirmed.
yeah, that's fair enough then.
Now the other one is central midfield, and we'll start with a name which I think, if you haven't already started dying inside, Sam, I imagine me repeating this name will send you on that way, and it's Mr. John McGinn.
I'm astounded when this came out, flabbergasted. And to be fair, obviously with my wife being Villa, we've had some conversations about John McGinn over the years. I'm actually a really big fan of his. And back in the days of when we'd both when Villa were coming back into the Premier League, um, and we were under Steve Bruce, they had Dean Smith as their manager. They beat us 2-0 at Villa Park. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I was there.
So was I, unfortunately. Every time I go to Villa Park, we lose. So you'll be glad to hear I'm not going. I'm not going next week. I'm on holiday as of tomorrow, camping. Me. But yeah, I maintain he was Villa's best player in that era, and that was when they had Grealish. So me and my wife used to have some heated debates about that because Grealish was the be all and end all. I said, nope. John McGinn just controlled the game and is an absolute linchpin in that midfield. I think he's been a phenomenal signing. Steve Bruce that signed him for Villa. Yeah, I don't understand why, as he's Villa captain as well, he would want to leave Aston Villa to come and sit on our bench.
Well, that is the main point, and Everton have reportedly had an £18 million bid rejected for McGinn. I mean, I'm not against the idea at all. I think the midfield is one of those areas where that whole you're building a squad really applies to you, because we have three fantastic central midfielders plus Louis Miley as well. I think
So there
McGinn would,
will need to be rotation, won't there?
yeah, and McGinn would offer that, but I think it is an unrealistic target. My name is Hayden Hackney. That's I think he is. I think he's better than the Championship, and obviously Ipswich, who want to come straight back up, agreed a fee for him, and he's rejected that. He's holding out for Premier League interest. I think he's just a really good player, who would come in and he would offer that rotation option while also trying to push the midfield three that of Tonali, Joelinton, and Bruno. And £20 million in today's market for a 23-year-old, it's a bargain.
Yeah, again, like when we did the episode about centre mids, which we pre-recorded for when you went on your hollybobs. I don't think the names have really changed for either of us there as well. You mentioned Hackney then. I was on board. I can get on board with that. Again, like Alan McGinn, when I was being a little bit facetious saying to come and sit on our bench, he would obviously get his share of game time, but in our strongest 11, would he get in? No. But with it being a Champions League campaign, and we still want to do well and defend our crown, of course, in the League Cup, there's going to have to be rotation because you can't run these guys into the ground, which we were very guilty of doing, particularly Bruno, the first time around in the Champions League. But yeah, whether it's Hackney, Redoni of Coventry, you assumed that McAtee was on his way to Germany. That hasn't happened yet. So I think he could be a viable option as well, because I think we do need someone that is a bit more on the attacking side of things rather than just sitting. Especially with Willock being injured now as well, and Willock hasn't had a good 12 months anyway. And I prefer Miley in a bit of a sitting role as well, as opposed to him getting forward. I love Louis Miley. I think he's brilliant talent, and I'm arguably looking forward to seeing him get more minutes because that's what he needs to aid his development. But yeah, I like Redoni from Coventry. I think that could be a shrewd move. Hackney could be a shrewd move. Um, I was just it took me by surprise with because again it seems like we are completely abandoning our transfer ethos this summer. Now it just, to me, on the outside looking in, it just reeks of panic at this point.
Yeah, I think as we get nearer to the close of the window, we'll probably feel that a little bit more, won't we? Because
The squad's
put it
getting
bluntly,
thinner.
yeah, we cannot have Newcastle go into the, see the window shut with the squad they've got, because they're just going to get torn apart across every single
We could be
competition
going
they're
into
in.
the season with only 4 goalkeepers, Andrew.
Well, that's one positive.
Yeah, you know you're up the creek without a paddle when you see John Ruddy get minutes in pre-season.
Everton also in for Hackney, reportedly, in the last few days. And I know a lot of people say, well, you just mentioned 2 players that Everton are reportedly in for. Is that the market we're shopping in? Yes, it is at the current point in time. But I think Hackney would be a great addition. I mean, Sam, look, the question was, how does Newcastle United salvage their summer? So do you want to wrap up your salvage plan?
They can't. So join us next week, where I will be not in a bedroom, but I'll be in my tent in Somerset for the next episode, because that's the only place I can get away from my children. So yeah, Newcastle can't salvage this summer. It's all gone horribly wrong, and we're going to get off to a terrible start to the season.
Okay, I mean that is probably the opinion of most. In fact, before I push you to give a more chirpy response, do let me just jump in and give you the thoughts of our viewers and listeners, because we've had quite a
Yes,
few people get back in touch, and then
finally, someone talk some sense.
I will also try and wrap up my salvage plan. So we've got Lee saying he would like to see Arhawa in from Porto, Wissa, Theo Fernandez from Southampton, and Conor Gallagher, and out Alexander Isak. We've got Omar saying one from each of these positions. So a top centre back, either Marc Guéhi or Scalvini, centre midfield cover, Hayden Hackney or Jack Rodini, a centre attacking midfielder, Lee Kang, Elliott or McAtee, and striker number 1 position, i.e. to replace Isak, Muani or Gamble with Aghawa, and striker number 2, Wissa. Although we can't have both our strikers away from African Cup of Nations, so that rules out Jackson. I mean, Omar's kind of just got our list and has ran with it. David says we need bodies in, but not top quality. Not sure from this point what would be seen as acceptable. I still wouldn't sell Isak to Liverpool. Capital G says, I think we could muddle through with Gordon and Wissa up front, but an injury to one of our midfield 3 would destroy our season. Centre back, centre mid, and Wissa are bare minimum. Nathan's not feeling rosy at all and says we sign no one else. That's our window done now. Lauren Roberto says sell Isak for 130 million, sign Jackson for 60. I prefer to watch football with my eyes and stats, but you can't argue with Jackson's numbers. He's just a little bit erratic. Sign Wissa for 40.
Well, what is his red card numbers?
Well, he's only been sent off once this season. I think he's only been sent off once.
The season hasn't started yet.
Sorry, last season he did get sent off, didn't he, in the World Cup, Club Cup, I think. But Premier League, I think he's only been sent off once.
He's a liability.
And then Rodini from Coventry. Rodoni, sorry.
Speak English, man.
Richard says, don't sell Isak to a Premier League team under 150 million. Sell abroad for 120, or loan him with a small loan fee to a top European side and sell next year. Bring in Wissa, Theo, and a talent centre mid. Don't waste the money either. Bring in an Isak replacement or buy a cheap stopgap like Keane. We've got Craig saying we need to get back to fishing in unpolished gems pond. We've tried the big boys pond, but our bait isn't big enough. Dave says 2 or 3 decent strikers to replace Isak and Wilson, a quick right side centre back, and a quality midfielder to replace Sean Longstaff and quickly. And Tom has given me his list. Thank you to everyone else who has as well. We've got Aghawa from Porto, JSL. Who's JSL when they're at home, do we think? JSL. Who would JSL be?
J or G?
J for Jessica. JSL. That's got me stumped, that. Anyway, whoever JSL is, Theo, Scalvini, Guehi, Wissa or Watkins, McGinn or Pequeta, Kenneth Taylor, and a second Joe Linton, all incomings. Isak out, plus a player. He'd say Curtis Jones, but probably Joe Gomez. And he wants some communication as well. Who is JSL?
I can't think off the top of my head.
Strand Larsen, isn't it, my boy?
your man. How could you not know that off the top of your head?
Because I just call him
He's your
Strand Larsen.
guy. That's
get
what
it
you
now.
call him when you WhatsApp him.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that.
It's a big
Good
WhatsApp
list
group
there.
with you, Alanga, and Strand Larsen.
And Wisser. Don't forget Wisser.
Oh, you
And
fully aboard the Wisser train.
100%. And we'll get just some final lists here because a lot of people have sent their lists in. So thank you to everyone who has got back in touch. And if you're in the comments on YouTube, do let me know your thoughts as well. Gareth says Theo, Rodoni, Wisser, Watkins, or Harry Kane. Right, that was sensible until the Harry Kane suggestion. And at least everyone's on board with the Wisser transfer.
Yeah, like I say, it's a good player, and I think that's fine to replace Wilson. So I'll give you my proper answer then. Thank you everyone who's sent in your messages as well. By the way, some really good suggestions there, and some awful ones too, just for balance. But look, I mean, this is nothing new. Teams have had to get rid of their star striker before, and life goes on. Not least with Spurs and Harry Kane, of course. Who, by the way, have done very well to get 20 million out of LAFC for Son. Yeah, really good business. But yeah, it's how it's difficult. It's a challenging market, as we know, and the recruitment this summer has been awfully frustrating. It is salvageable, but it'll probably involve a tweak in. Not necessarily system, but about certainly about how we go about some things. For me, Walt Marder and Gonzalo Ramos, Calamuendo, 2 out of those 3. I'm okay with Wisser. I'm okay with Strand Larsen, but as the kind of second choice. But will there really be a second choice this season? Will it be more of a dovetail effect? Probably. Yeah, top centre back is obviously needed because Fabian Schär, as great as he's been and as handsome as he is, there is flaws creeping into his defensive game. There's no getting away with that. Father Time beats everyone, so it is probably a bigger necessity than we give it credit for. So whether it's Guehi, yeah, my centre back targets haven't really changed, and yeah, the centre mid. So four players definitely have to come through the door. Obviously, we've got the right winger, we've got the goalkeeper. I wonder if we'd have bided our time. Ironically, we could have had a cheeky bid for Donnarumma, but there you go. Probably not. His wages would have been astronomical, and he's only had one good season for PSG, which was last year. I digress. But yeah, life goes on. We can still be competitive, and the great thing is, which to kind of be positive, to bring some much needed positivity to this nigh on hour. Eddie Howe's done a brilliant job in keeping the squad, the ones that actually do want to be here and play for Newcastle United and are proud to represent the shirt. The likes of Trippier, who could have left by now, the likes of Bruno, who could have left by now. The morale is really good. Obviously, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, met Bruno, Tonali, Trippier, and Willock, and before they went to the Far East. They're in great spirits. They're on about winning another trophy. Trips especially was in buzzing, great form, and as was Bruno. But the atmosphere seems good, and Howe's continues to do a fantastic job. But again, like I said last week, working miracles is not a sustainable business practice. There needs to be more support from above, and PAF could really do without funding our rivals. Buying awful cast-offs for vast sums of money. That would be nice. But yeah, the CEO will be sorted. The director of football will soon be sorted. Hopefully, we know the names lurking in the news, and hopefully news about stadiums, training grounds, sponsors, kit sponsors, whatever. Because at the moment, all Newcastle fans are seeing is us being beaten to players every week, and all we get in return is a new clothing range, new trainers, new stadium jacket, which costs £100, Andrew.
Well, it all adds to the pot, I guess. And I would just say on the whole,
£100 for a jacket.
hey, if you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. That's the
But
way
I
I see
do
it.
want to buy it because it's absolutely gorgeous. But
Well, then that's something you just got to make a choice. You're an adult, Sam. On the whole PIF and
barely.
buying up Nunes and what have you, I get why people are frustrated, but also I'm not bothered by it. Like I accepted pretty much straight away that the PAF's real focus in this kind of industry, in this sporting industry, is growing their Saudi league. That's
Yeah.
how it's always been, how it will always be. And getting big players through the door is going to cost a lot of money. You've got to persuade them with big wages. Like I get it; it's frustrating because what we see is Liverpool getting 50 odd million for Nunes, who has flopped, or whatever the price is, and we're still
30
struggling.
million for Kwanzaa off Leverkusen.
You know,
Haven't they sold a kid for 15, 20 million? They're very good sellers. How they do it, I do not know.
yeah, but back to the point about the Saudi thing is like they want to grow their domestic league. That's always been the case, and I think people get a little bit too hooked on this whole, they need to stop that because they're funding our rivals. They see it as separate entities, and that's how we should. It's hard to accept, but that's the reality. But yeah, my salvage plan: Marc Guéhi at centre back, Hayden Hackney in centre mid, Wisser in. I would like Strand Larsen, but I think it's wholly unrealistic. So I'm going to leave you with this name: Ivan Toney. Little cheeky loan deal. Bring him back from Saudi. Would he be enough to replace Alexander Isak?
No.
No, not having it.
No.
There we go.
No. But look, you are 100% right about the Saudis. Another name for you, Victor Boniface from Leverkusen, but his injury record is tantamount to Callum Wilson's. Ridiculously talented player, but has lost his place through injury to Patrick Schick, who's just signed a new deal at Leverkusen. So if Boniface could be available, he could be an option as well, a very good option. But again, AFCON, yeah. So you wouldn't want to be getting him and Wisser because otherwise you're left with Asula. Which for a month, which isn't sustainable as we know because he's not ready. But yeah, it's tough, it's tricky, it's frustrating. It is, but I try and still kind of stick with the ethos of look, we have to kind of stick to the plan. My question to you is, what would happen then? Because you're big on Guehi, and I know what happens then if we lose out to Guehi again from either Liverpool or Chelsea.
I cry myself to sleep until the window shuts, most probably.
Yeah, but
I
no,
don't know.
but again, this is why I bring up the talent from the European leagues because I
Well, I
think
think if we put our choices aside, I think if we look at realistic options from what's been reported, and I mean, Theo looks like the one that's probably going to happen. Newcastle, according to those in Italy, are are strong on him. So,
and
he's
hey,
probably more
look,
realistic than Guehi.
I know I've slagged Theo off on this for the past hour. However, there is a caveat of if Howe can work his magic with him and cut the errors out of his game, then it could be a shrewd piece of business.
Well, it'd be a signing, wouldn't it? So we take that. As I always say, at the end of these episodes this week
But the
and
way
last
it's
week,
going, you think, well, we could bring Shola out of retirement and we'd still get gazumped by Chelsea.
yeah, potentially. There is still enough time for it to be salvaged. I did
I
ask
mean,
for our
it's
salvage
not
plans,
quite.
and
I mean, I can't wait to get to the Bernabeu in November with Vardy and Calvert-Lewin up front.
well, they'll probably get gazumped by Sunderland and someone else. But yes, they are our
Behave.
kind of salvage plans for the remainder of the window. 3 weeks or so to go. Still enough time to turn it around and sign some players for Eddie Howe and his squad. We will wait and see what happens. Do drop your salvage plans into the comments and we'll get back to you. From myself and Sam, thank you as always, and we'll catch you guys very soon.